All right, Junkie Nation, Gorgeous George and Goes are delivering another MMA superstar. This time, it's Christos Giagos coming off a huge win at UFC 262 in Houston over Sean Soriano. Not only was it a big win, not only does he make it 4 out of 5, he netted an extra 75 G's. How are you?
Oh, man, I'm good. I'm good. You know, I'm celebrating a little bit in Florida right now. So just talking to you guys over here on the East Coast. But life is good. Life is really good. Enjoy these small moments, or big moments, you can say.
Yeah. So you're on a really nice run. You're on a huge card with fans. Got yourself a nice bonus. Tell me, how good are you feeling about the direction of your career in these last few years after, you know, not struggles, but you kind of had a little bit more of a run where, like, you were winning 2, losing 1, and now you're kind of on the type of a run where people are not going to match you up with other fighters on similar runs as well.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I mean, it was a little bit of a struggle. So obviously, when you start fighting, your long life goal is to make it to the UFC. You know, I got there the first time, and you know, I went 1 and 2, but I didn't lose 2 in a row. I lost my first one, I won my second, I lost my third, and then I actually re-signed with UFC. They were down to re-sign, and they kept me on for 6 months, and then I ended up getting cut because like a bunch of fighters got cut. I was just like one of those guys on the list. Like, oh, 1 and 2, okay, peace out. So that was a rough one, a rough pill to swallow. And then, but then I just couldn't give up. So I kept going, fighting overseas, fighting guys who were with really good records, beating them. You know, I beat some guy, Alexander Pimentel, who's 15-1. His only loss was to Rick Glenn in the UFC. So I knew I belonged. It was just a matter of time. And then I finally got the call back with Charles Oliveira, and I lost. So I started off my UFC career 1 and 3. Not so hot, you know? So I knew I had to make a big change. So, you know, just making some adjustments, and now here we are. I went from 1 and 3 to now having a winning record in the UFC. I won my last 4 out of 5 fights. So I'm here, and I'm here to stay.
What was the difference of what do you think the fans meant to all the fighters collectively? Some of you fighters, you know, interact or whatever, but that night you had to know it was a lot more special after what we've been through for the past year and a half. But what was the feeling like? You know, you were the first fight of the night. You guys set the tone. Was there chatter amongst the fighters, and what did you feel with fans being back in the audience?
You know, I got in this business because I love to entertain. I love to show off the skills I've developed in any sport, but this is the one I've made it in. And I mean, when I was a kid, I wanted to be in the NFL. Like, I've always wanted to be a professional athlete, so I wanted to perform in front of a big crowd. I love hearing screams. I love hearing yells. I was definitely shocked at how many people were there that early on. I guess Texas needed something to do, but you know, it was quite the crowd for being the first fight. I've been the first 1 or 2 fights before in the UFC, and this is definitely the biggest crowd at that time. But yeah, you know, I think it's very important. I think we feed off the energy of the crowd. You can definitely hear them when they're chanting, when they're not. You know, if they're booing, like all that stuff gets to you, and it's good. I personally feel like it's really good. So I love it. I love performing in front of people. It makes everything that much sweeter, but it can also make things a lot worse if things don't go your way. So the high highs and the low lows.
We're SoCalers like you, so we remember hearing about you back in the day when you were fighting in Pomona. I went to your fight in Santa Monica, a samurai card, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember what was making the mark was your heavy hands at the time. But I love, in looking over your career, how the last few years you've really developed a formidable submission game.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a big thing that people don't understand about me yet, or don't even know. But I have a really, really good submission game, and I'm getting more and more comfortable with it. Especially, sorry about that, the camera's moving. I just joined a new gym where I'm getting to grapple a lot more, and I'm getting way more confident in going for the submissions now. I think in the past I was a little standoffish because I went for submissions before and blew out my arms, and then like I felt really fatigued in the fight. So I think when that happened to me in the past, it kind of scared me from doing it again in the future. If you look at my last fight, I took on 3 days notice, and I didn't really go for anything except rear naked chokes because I didn't want to have to blow myself out. But I changed up my training a little bit, and now I'm going for submissions all the time. And towards the end of my camp, I was going for submissions left and right, and I wasn't feeling fatigued at all. I was able to get up, start striking. So it really gave me the confidence to like, all right, I can go for things and be okay. And I think that's very important. I think it's something I was missing because I always get in really, really tip-top shape. I always get in the best cardio I can, but I don't train my muscles to like squeeze enough. And it's something I'm doing now. And I'll tell you guys, you're going to see a lot more submission attempts from me.
That's awesome, but don't stop letting them hands go. That you got some heavy hands.
Never. I'm a mixed martial artist.
Fling them dogs, Christos.
If I'm on the feet, I'm gonna strike, or I'm going to takedown. It's one or the other. I'm never gonna force an issue. I'm never gonna try to, make it one-sided. Like if I can't take a guy down, we're gonna strike.
Yeah.
If I can't stop a guy from taking me down, we're gonna roll around a little bit. So I have a very well-rounded MMA game. I'm good on the ground. I think my jiu-jitsu is a little underrated, but you guys will see a lot more of that coming soon.
I don't want to focus on just the money, so I'll say it one more time. But this is a really big fight for you in terms of not only did it continue your run, 4 of your last 5, but you got your show, your win, and the performance bonus. Tell me what you'll be able to do with that money and how much of a difference it'll make. This is the biggest, most lucrative fight you've ever had.
Triple checks. No, it's definitely a blessing. It's something I've wanted for so long. Just a big fight where I can walk away, with a good chunk and change. I just got married. I got married during camp. So definitely she has a say in everything I do. She supports me all the way. She works her butt off to make so she can keep our steady income coming, So I definitely want to invest it in the right way. I'm going to be meeting with some financial advisors pretty soon. So I don't want to be that athlete that blows his money. That could have been me, when I first got in the UFC like 6-7 years ago. Now I'm a little smarter and wiser. So I just want to be smart with my money, invest. I want to buy property and just start prepping for my future. Cause not too long from now, we're popping out a few kids. So yeah.
Well, that was going to be my next question. A lot of fighters will go out and spend some of it. Some of it are just savers. And then others say, I'm going to reinvest in myself, whether that means more specialist training or maybe doing a little bit of traveling and going to other gyms to get other looks. Will you be doing any of that or no?
Yeah, that's not out of the question. So actually, I'm here in Florida now, not only for vacation, but we're actually moving here for 2 to 3 years. So I can definitely check out the bigger gyms that are down here in Fort Lauderdale, or like American Top Team, or what's the other one? The old, not the Black Zillions, but there's another one down here. Yeah. Well, the guy I just fought is from there, so I don't know if that's gonna be awkward, but we'll see. I might check them out and talk to the coaches, and I would definitely invest in myself. And I've never been a materialistic guy. I don't need fancy things, so that's good. We already bought our Tesla, so I'm good with the cars. And
oh, nice.
Yeah. So I just want to just be smart and save and invest in myself and for my my kids' future. I don't want my wife to have to worry too much about stress with money. So if I can be that provider, that'd make me happy. I'm definitely a people pleaser. So yeah.
You didn't have no problems with your Tesla? It didn't get backlogged like Beneil Dariush's?
No. I was wondering what happened with that, man. No, I got it right away. Actually, I got it sooner than expected, to be honest. So maybe I don't know. That sucks that happened to him. But I saw Elon responded to that, right? He said, "Sorry, it's on its way."
Yeah, he wound up getting a loaner, and I guess the loaner will hold him over till he gets his. And then the other thing I was gonna say is Soriano is from MMA or from Stanford MMA,
Stanford MMA, yeah.
and the two other gyms are MMA Masters and ATT. So you have a
MMA
few to choose
Master.
from. If you're gonna be hanging down in SoFla, you have 3 to choose from. MMA
Perfect.
Masters.
I'm gonna check out the MMA Master. That's actually one I haven't heard of yet, but I might check them all out. Our Pedro Munoz trains at ATT. He's one of my good buddies. I've known him for a long time. He told me he can set up a conversation to have a meeting with them. So I definitely are gonna scope it all out. But I'm excited to I like change. I've always wanted to. I've lived in Cali my whole life. So LA area my whole life. So I wanted a change for a little bit, but we do want to raise our family in Cali, so we will go back. But this is gonna be something fun for the next couple of years.
Christos, now you kind of piqued my interest a little bit when you said the old me might have splurged a little bit and spent some of that money. What would you have bought? Is there a shoe collection, an ATV? What would you have bought?
I don't know. I'm not really much of a. I usually from the old days, I'd spend my money on like going out, getting bottle service. Just kind of. That's how I spent my money back in the day. But now it's like I don't care about fancy shoes, fancy clothes. Maybe you know what? Maybe buying like a Rolex or like a nice gold chain. I might treat myself to something like that because it appreciates. So it's not a dumb buy.
Yeah. Well, earlier in the interview, you talked about making some changes in your life and in your training and all that. And throughout our history on our show, we've heard a lot of fighters say that, but we've heard 2 versions. One is, I wish I would have done that sooner. And the other is, I actually appreciate some of the bad things that happened in my career because it actually strengthened me. So I wouldn't go back and change that. Which one would you fall under?
Both. Well, I mean, it's kind of hard. I mean, so when I was training at Black House, which I think Black House is a great facility, had a lot of great people came out of there, and I love the way they do the training. But I would use my own mistake. I would use like our wrestling days as a grappling day, and we would do a lot of 1 minute goes and go somebody else 1 minute goes. So you get that initial burst of energy right away, but you don't get that long lasting jiu-jitsu rolling for 5 to 10 minutes at a time. So I was missing that. I was doing a lot of those bursts, and I wasn't doing as much jiu-jitsu because I would use those as my jiu-jitsu days. Now I kind of stopped that, and all my jiu-jitsu days now are like the very minimum I'm going to roll somebody is like 3 minutes. The very minimum. The longest like 10-20 minute roll sometimes. So I'm getting my muscles used to just being on the ground more, going for submissions and not fatiguing at all like in the past couple of weeks. So I wish I did do it sooner. I do, but I also got to see what I was missing. So it's a hard question to choose one of them. I think a little bit of both. I do wish I was doing it sooner because maybe I could have won some of the fights I lost, or but it also showed me what I was missing and kind of helped show me what are the possibilities for the future. So just a little bit of both, I guess.
You laid out a little bit of a foundation as far as what you want next, Donald Cowboy Cerrone, and I kind of like that. I think it makes sense. Have you heard anything from the UFC back as far as that? And if not, is there a plan B?
I haven't heard anything back yet. To be honest, I hope I get it. Who knows? I don't want people to think I'm trying to just get a tune-up fight like somebody on his way out. But for me, it's more of just like having that experience, and obviously I get to use his name as a stepping stool. So I think we both win. He gets his fight at 55, but who knows what he wants. I think at the end of the day he'll be able to choose. But as far as a backup plan, I do want a big name, maybe somebody like Jim Miller or who else? Jim Miller could be somebody. Everyone else is getting cut. I don't know. I want somebody who's a big name that's not quite in the top 15 yet. I want to use a big name to get my shot at the top 15. So we'll see. We'll see what's happening. We'll see what the UFC wants. At the end of the day, I'm employed by them, and I'm just here to fight. You know, if you know, look at my past fights. I never turned down fights. I fought some of the best already, so I'm game for anybody they give me.
Not only have you fought some of the best, you fought the best. The current champ, Charles Oliveira.
Yes.
You've had taste of competing versus him. And a lot of times when we talk to fighters like yourself, we ask them, do you have what it takes to tangle with the champ now, or do you still have to close the gap? So that night didn't go your way, but you got to feel him, and you know what he's like. You've gotten better, he's gotten better, but how do you envision Charles Oliveira at this point? Like, are you gunning for him in particular, or are you just taking it one guy at a time? Like, what do you envision when you're training?
Either way, one guy at a time. So I don't like to look too far ahead of time. Every time I fight, people ask me, well, so what happens after this fight? Well, right now I'm not focused on what's after this fight. I'm focused on this fight and this fight only. So I'm only really focused on the fights that are ahead of me at that time. But if I do fight Charles, since I got to fight him already, I got to feel him. I beat him in the first round. Not as bad as Chandler did, but I definitely won the first round. You know, I hit him with some big shots, busted his nose, defended some takedowns, got up from the ground, did everything right. Going into the second round, as soon as he took my back, I panicked. I didn't trust my jiu-jitsu. That was the one thing my coach told me, like, you should trust your jiu-jitsu. But, like, I knew I wasn't supposed to be there. So those are little mistakes that I'm finding out about myself, that I just have to start trusting myself in there and not panic. So, but he's obviously gotten a lot better. So I think it'll be fun to fight him again. Hopefully I get that opportunity. But at this point, I'm just looking for the next fight ahead of me. So that I'll start thinking about that once I start cracking the top 15, top 10.
Well, it's been an awesome journey. Like I said, we've heard of your name for a while and also watched you on the local scene in Southern California. In fact, just a quick connect to the dots. I actually filmed an episode of CSI New York as a extra in the back. I actually was supposed to be a referee, and then stupid Tito Ortiz showed up. Tito Ortiz was there, but one of Tito Ortiz's friends showed up who was going to do that role, but they thought he might not. So I just got to be an extra in a scene in the background. And then from there, I rushed to Santa Monica to watch the Samurai. So I remember that night or that day pretty good.
I remember that night too. I remember how nervous I was that fight. That guy looked so big. It was my first time fighting somebody who was like that muscular. And I was like, well, at least if I lose, my fans will know he was big. So, you know, I remember thinking that in my head, like, God. But then I remember after I won, I was like, oh, this is why I do this. Because I was like backstage, like, why am I doing this? Why do I do this? You know, you get those like pre-fight jitters. And that was one of the worst ones I've had to this day, for sure.
Yeah. Well, congrats on the journey. And that's what these careers are a lot of the time, is journeys. You fight for $500. And then all of a sudden you have a big payday like UFC 62. So we wish you continued success, bigger paydays, more wins, more big fights. And thank you so much for the time today, Christos.
Hey,
enjoy the
vacation.
vacation
You guys having me on. You know, it's been one long hell of a road. So I appreciate you guys following me and sharing this moment with me.